Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melisa Caprio.
Hello and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. How are you guys doing today? It's Wonderful Wednesday. I hope you guys are doing well. I have a great show today. I have Hypnosis Practitioner Arianna Corsino, and she's going to join us in just a few minutes. And I had a session with her last week, so we're going to talk a little bit about that too. It was really wild. For those of you who listen to my show every week and are here again today, thank you again for joining me. And for those of you who are new to tuning into my show for the first time, a little about me. I am also an author and a photographer, and my book is titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And I talk about in my book manifesting, and there are 30 manifesting stories along with the photographs that I took of the contributors' postcards. And they're manifesting postcards. And in it, I include writing exercises, and it helps us get clear on what we want to manifest, and a toolbox full of rituals and exercises on how to manifest love, money, career, health, and so much more. So if you're interested in doing inner work exercises and reading people's incredible journeys of transformation, inspiration, and manifesting, please go to your favorite bookstore and you can purchase a copy. I would appreciate it. Let me know, too, what you think. I love hearing when people tell me that they got my book and that they really liked it. It means the world to me. Also, each week I share a magical message that I like to post on Mondays, and it's an image of a manifesting postcard that I photograph with an affirmation that I like to focus on for the week. And I find using affirmations daily is a powerful way to become a new belief in our lives. And this week's magical message is I inspire health. And we always talk about our health as far as physical health, but what about our emotional health? So I wanted to just leave some thoughts about that, because we're always, we've gotten really good at working out, going to the gym, doing yoga classes, all that good stuff. But sometimes we forget to take care of our emotional health. So are you taking care of your emotional health? Are you aware of your emotions and your reactions to the people around you? Are you noticing what in life is making you sad and angry or frustrated, and what makes you happy and feel joy? Do you get a chance to express your feelings in appropriate ways? Do you let the people who are close to you know when something is off or something is bothering you? Do you feel like you have somebody that you can talk to? Do you give yourself time to think before you react to a situation that happens? Do you react right away? Do you react aggressively when something doesn't go your way right away? That's a good indication that there may be some things going on. How do you manage stress in your life? Are you sleeping enough? Are you meditating? Are you exercising? Are you eating healthy? Are you managing your stress? Are you finding balance in your life between fun and work, play and responsibilities? You need to find the right balance that always helps us with our emotional stress. And of course, like I said, the physical exercise, we seem to be better at doing that. Not all of us, but many of us. But if you're not, can you find time to exercise regularly? I have a rowing machine that I got 6 months ago, and I try to do it at least 5 days a week. And it's really made a difference in my emotional health, not the physical health, but the emotional health. What about connecting with others? The last 3 years have been so tough and a lot of isolation. Are you going back out and seeing your friends or going and joining groups? Maybe that's something that you need to think about. So those are just a few things that I wanted to mention that can tap into our emotional health. Whatever you're doing in your life, if you can figure out if it's important to you to find purpose and meaning, and as much as you can, try to stay positive. I know with certain tragedies and certain things, it's impossible. But if you can, just on a daily life, daily life, if you can try to stay positive as much as possible, that would be wonderful for your mental health. And you can also book a session with a healing practitioner. Like, for example, how I recently had a session with my guest who's going to be with me in just a minute here. And I had a healing hypnosis session last week. I think it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday, and it was amazing. So if you want to see my magical messages that I post each week, you can find them across any of my social media platforms, Postcards to the Universe. And if you're on Facebook and you want to join a really cool public Facebook group, check out my group, Postcards of Love. Next week, I have returning guest, Reverend Gregory Passman. And Gregory Passman is a trance channel, and he channels over 40 light beings, including Sananda, archangels, Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, as well as master teacher spirits. And I don't know yet who's going to be joining us next week, but it's always exciting with whoever does show up. So join me next week to hear Gregory. Now, to bring out my guest today, Arianna Corsino has been collecting and creating affirmations for over 10 years. And in 2016, she became a hypnotherapist who utilizes Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique, amongst other modalities. In addition to being a hypnotherapist, Ariana is a past life regressionist, a teacher of metaphysics, and a YouTuber. As a hypnosis practitioner, she has helped hundreds of clients communicate with their infinite creator being in order to help them find healing and empowerment. She created the channel, The Realm of Prosperity, on YouTube to inspire viewers to look within for answers when addressing life's questions. To learn more about her, you can go to her website, www.therealmofprosperity.com. That's therealmofprosperity.com. Welcome, Ariana. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, me too. So we had a session on Friday, and it was really great. So she can do sessions remotely. So we did it through, I guess, was it Zoom? Whatever video. Yeah, it was through Zoom. And so we see each other as we're talking, and then she does the whole process. And it was 3 hours. We were together for about 3 hours, which was wonderful. So before we talk, a little bit about my session, how did you get into this line of work? Can you share that with us?
Well, I've always been into metaphysics and things like that. But I've always also had questions that could never be answered. So during a period in my life where everything was just okay, but there was like a void missing out of the blue, which, when you're talking about the universe, nothing is really out of the blue. My mom sends me a video on Dolores Cannon, so I binge watch everything on YouTube, and I was like, this is what I have to do. And when I took her course, it started answering those questions that I had for myself all of these years. Everything started to make sense. So when I got into that, I'm like, I have to share this. I need to involve people, let them know that they can look within for the answers that they seek.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. So I know a little bit about Dolores Cannon, a little bit about her, but many people may not know anything about her teachings. Can you share with us a little bit about what her teachings were and what is quantum healing technique, the technique that you use?
So Dolores Cannon developed a technique where she developed it over 50 years. And she really puts people under a trance-like state in the theta brainwave, which is one of the deepest level. It's almost like having a shamanic-like journey. So she's able to, with her teaching, she was able to put people under, and she's helped thousands of people. And she had tons and tons of books from all of her sessions. And she was able to bring forward a lot of the knowledge that we were missing, or lost knowledge or confirmation on things that we really that we knew intuitively, but
Mhm.
there is no material or like there's no school to go and find this information. So she was able to bring it to the forefront and combine it all together in her work. And that includes paranormal activities, ET encounters,
Mhm.
um, and like ancient civilization, ancient knowledge, and things like that.
Yeah. And for those who are like hearing this for the first time, if you Googled Dolores Cannon, you would see there's a lot of information out there about her, about the kind of work that she was doing or she was doing. She passed away, what, a couple of years ago? Or was it longer than
In
that?
2018.
In 2018, yeah. There's a bunch of YouTube videos. You can listen to her speaking. I know I have another friend who does her teachings like you do. And it's really fascinating what she says about us, us humans, right?
Yeah.
And the ETs, if you're, if
Mhm.
you're interested in that, which I find very interesting. And like, like Gregory, who I said is going to be on my show next week, he was here. He channels also some ETs. So it's really kind of cool, if you're open to all that stuff, which most of my audience, I think, is. That's probably why they listen to my show. Right. Well, we had a session and you used the quantum healing technique on me in the hypnosis. Is that correct?
Yes, and at times I do modify it according to my
Mm-hmm.
own.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
it's like a mishmash of Dolores Cannon and a lot of other teachers that I also learned with.
Mm. Yeah, it was a really interesting experience. So we did it through Zoom, and I got comfortable. I was in my bed when I did it because I wanted to be super comfortable. And we talked for about an hour, I would say, for before you started the actual hypnosis.
Mhm.
And I want to say that what I found super interesting. Now I've gone to a Brian Weiss workshop before. I've done hypnosis only a couple times before, not very often. And Brian Weiss does past lives, and
Mhm.
you took me to a past life, which I went to, and I definitely had a visual experience, but I also had a physical experience, which was new to me, and that was really different. So I just want to say, so she has me, float up onto a cloud, and I could actually feel my body floating, which was the first thing that I had this physical experience with, which I thought was wild. Felt really interesting. And then when I landed in the past life, I started having a reaction because there was smoke where I was at, like a lot, like a brush fire. And so I was coughing and I was hacking a lot, which was something that's never happened to me before. So does that happen sometimes with some of your other clients where they have an actual physical reaction?
Absolutely. Yes. Which is when I'm conducting the session, I always, if I see a situation that is happening similar to that, I always
Mm-hmm.
mention that you can observe it and not
Mm-hmm.
have any physical sensation because perhaps you might not want to participate in what's actually going on. So,
Right.
to let you know that you are very much in control of your experience, you can
Mm.
observe the situation if you want to, or you can participate in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild feeling it. I remember you saying
Mhm.
that to me while I was there. It was wild though having the actual physical experience. So I'm not going to get into for the purposes of the show for what the past life was. It actually wasn't the most interesting of past lives that I probably had, but it was relevant to the questions that I gave her. So it made sense of why that past life was shown to me because I had a question. What do you ask us to give you like, half a dozen questions of things we want to sort of ask as we're going under?
Yes.
Is that yeah. Yeah, about that. So it was very relevant to one of the questions that I asked, why this life in particular was shown to me as a like a contrast, like this happened in this life because of, you had no choice, but in this life you have choices. So I needed to see it so that I could feel the difference and experience the difference, which I thought was like the most awesome thing about the whole experience.
Yeah, I like to describe having past life regressions as Google search. You're Google searching yourself to find out more information about your current life. So a lot of people like to sometimes get caught up too much in the past life when the purpose of seeing it is really to apply lessons that you had already learned to bring it here.
Mm.
So you're Google searching yourself through the astral realm.
I love that. It's a Google through the astral realm. You're Googling your past lives. Yeah. So it's a very interesting, and I want to talk a little bit more about some of your clients, without obviously revealing anything private, some of their experiences that they had. Do you always take us through a past life? Is that always a part of the hypnosis or the first session that we have with you?
It depends on the person. Typically, people who have done sessions with me a few times already, they will naturally go into speaking with the higher self or the subconscious. So they usually just bypass the past life portion. But typically, yes, we walk the client through the past life and then contact the higher self or subconscious.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk more about that. So we're going to take our first break here. So guys, stay tuned and I'll be back in just a couple minutes with Ariana. Stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
The rainbow is God's promise of hope for you and me. And though the clouds hang heavy and the sun we cannot see, we know above the dark clouds that fill the stormy sky, hope's rainbow will come shining through when the clouds have drifted by. Teresa Caprio is the president and founder of Rainbow Guardian Inc., a nonprofit 501c3 serving the intellectually challenged/developmentally disabled, including autism. Teresa started the foundation in 1995 so she could help make a better life for her intellectually challenged daughter. Her dream is that the Rainbow Guardian will provide the necessary tools and education to help the public understand the special needs population, because it's often discarded in mainstream society. To find out more or make a donation in support, please go to www.rainbowguardian.org. Rainbow Guardian's special mission is to see these unique people live a happy, full life and have a future of liberty and equality.
Welcome back. So if you're just joining me, today I have Hypnosis Practitioner Arianna Corsino on, and we're talking about quantum healing and hypnosis and all that good stuff that we like to talk about on this show. So before the break, we were talking, I asked you if you always lead us through a past life, and you said not always, depending on your client, what you do with us. Do you find that past lives are very relevant sometimes in maybe an issue that we're dealing with in this life?
They're very relevant for you to do a comparison, for you to take those lessons and apply them here and do like a maybe side by side, or maybe there's an emotion that you had forgotten and maybe you can bring it down to apply it to this life. So in that sense, they are relevant. But in the sense of worrying too much about your past life, not so much.
Right. Now, how do we know, and I know I asked you this, but I'm going to let you describe it on the air. I asked you, like, how do you know that we aren't, or how do we know that we aren't making it up?
So the best way to know is to see yourself and understand that the subconscious or the higher self has no judgment and is very confident. So when the person is under and they are describing what they're seeing, they are seeing it in a sequence, right? And normally it's not like, oh, I'm seeing rainbows and unicorns and then some weird cat man comes in, like a dream state. So sometimes dreams can be kind of very convoluted, whereas when we walk into the past life, everything has its sequence. And I'm sure that, let's say your session, for example, that you could have picked any past life, right? But you chose the one that was most relevant to you now. Well, actually, it was chosen for you to view. So it brings forward what you need to know.
Yeah, it does. And the way you led me through it is I showed up at a point and then you kept taking me forward, and it just kind of flowed. Like I didn't feel like I was making it up, truthfully. I mean, it really was like, why am I here? I don't understand. I saw what my hair looked like. I saw what I was wearing. I saw where I lived. I saw where, what was in my life at that time. So it was very clear, and it did flow like, like a timeline. It had a timeline to it. It wasn't like a dream where you're right, where you're like, this creature turned into this creature, it wasn't like that. Now, when you're doing a past life, is there some things that you can share, like I said, without revealing any personal information from some of your clients' past life readings that you found were very interesting or sort of different, or like or some issues that people resolved because of going and tapping into their past life?
The most recent one that I thought that was super interesting was the client didn't go through a past life. And this is the first time that I was actually meeting with her. And she didn't go through a past life. She actually channeled source energy and brought it forward. And what was super interesting about that was that the energy was so strong that my computer kept glitching in and out, but I could still hear her. And that had never happened before. And it was like really intense. It even got hot on my end. So that was interesting that source energy. Here I am talking to source energy in an
Wow.
English language. And they had a real difficult time explaining because, it's a vibration, not so much a language. Another interesting one was that a client of mine had agoraphobia, which she had trouble going out into public places. And it was something that had developed in recent years. She was never like that. And she also had an incident where she wanted to yell out the word bomb in public places, and she did not understand where that was coming from. So the minute that we walked her through a past life, she landed in a war scene and she was saying bomb, bomb. And it turned out that in that past life, she did not want to go to war. She did it because she wanted to please someone else. And that was really interesting.
That is interesting. So do you think that did it come up in the past recent years because she was around the same age as when she was in the war in the past life? Because I have read that sometimes that happens with people. The issue won't come up till later, and then when they do have a past life, they find out that they were like, say, 35 in the past life, and this hit them when they turned 35 in this life. That kind of stuff.
It wasn't so much of age, it was where she was in her life, where she felt like she needed to please, I think it was her parents or something like that, and she brought that forward again. So she was in the same situation of pleasing someone else,
right,
as opposed to doing what she actually wanted to do.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, especially after having the experience with you personally. Like I said, from the questions that I asked to the past life that was shown, because at first I was like, I don't understand. Like, what was the point of that, showing me that life, And then I realized it afterwards when you, said, well, look at the question you asked and then look at what showed up for you. And, do you see where you were then and where you are now? And so I found that super helpful, actually, to me. So if you guys are thinking about it, I highly recommend it. Have you worked on, did that help? Oh, well, let me go back to her. Did that help her agoraphobia? Like once she realized where it came from, did something shift in her?
It helped her understand, it helped her understand where she was in her life, and she was able to continue moving forward because she was making an attempt to go out, but she still didn't want to go out and yell out like weird words or doesn't know what's happening. So when she came to that understanding, she processed it, and then now she can move forward with more ease.
Oh, good. Now, have you had people come through with major emotional traumas that they maybe didn't get in this life, and it was a carryover from a past life that was something that they could let go of? There
have been some, but usually there is always like a tether here. There's always like a correlation. It might not be exactly. It is still residue, like that one from the one that I was just talking about. Oh, what was really interesting was this woman was from Europe, but the war she was seeing and the person she was seeing, she was a man in the Vietnam War.
Okay.
So she was in the U.S. and then she got shipped over to Vietnam. So I thought that was really interesting. But so there was still some cellular residue there in emotions, yes, that she could let go of. But it's not always 100% just the past life.
Right. So we recreate some situations here in this life to help us heal whatever it is we brought forward, we brought over. Right. We'll find ourselves in a similar situation
Mhm.
That makes sense to
And
see
what's
us. Yeah.
really interesting is that this came up through a session as well, is that as you are healing or communicating with your past life, because time isn't really linear,
Right.
it's like multi-dimensional and parallel
Mm-hmm.
universe.
Yeah.
As you're healing that timeline, you're helping them in that timeline as you're doing that connection.
Ah, that's really fascinating.
Hmm.
So you're healing. Oh, that's really interesting. Well, I guess it would make sense if time isn't linear and it's
Yeah.
like more of like a parallel existence, because I'm still living that lifetime in another universe, and I'm right
Yeah.
in the
In
multiverse.
yeah.
If you watch
In
the
this
most
session,
recent Spider-Man, the
yes,
multiverse.
yes, I have. In a session, I asked if it would be similar to like a phone call. We're phoning in on your
Hmm.
past life to see how they're doing. So they said that is the best way that you could describe it from our human consciousness standpoint, from
It's
what we
really
can understand.
Yeah, it's so wild to try to wrap your mind around it. It really is. Yeah, it's hard to imagine it. So you just got to be open to experiencing it. I know it's the joke is like everybody thinks like they were somebody famous in a past life,
Yeah.
and we know that can't be true. So have you ever actually had a client who discovered they were somebody famous in a past life? I'm just curious.
They weren't someone famous, but they were best
Hmm.
friends with someone famous.
Oh, okay.
So they were good friends with Nikola Tesla.
Oh, oh,
Hmm.
wow. That's really interesting. Hmm. God, I wonder who is Nikola Tesla right now. That would be probably pretty cool to talk to.
Well, actually, I did a session. I did a session where we
Uh-huh.
were able to speak with him.
Oh, so you spoke to his higher self,
We well,
or is he not incarnated yet here right now?
from his perspective, which was really awesome to be witnessing that,
Hmm.
because it was almost like he was giving a lecture in a lecture hall.
Oh,
Well,
interesting.
he was describing it as he says that I'm still alive in my timeline, and you are only perceiving me as dead because of the way time works.
Hmm. Interesting.
So I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about his inventions and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, this is
Wow, that's
fun.
pretty wild. That's pretty wild. That's really wild if you think about it, because obviously, if there are parallel lives, then we are
Hmm.
still alive in those timelines, experiencing our soul's purpose in a different situation and body and experiences. It's just, yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
It is hard to kind of grasp it. Now so what we did after the past life is Ariana brought me back, and then we went and tapped into the higher self.
Hmm.
And that's when the questions that I sent her, she, reiterated back to me, asked me not to ask me, the person laying on the bed, but the higher consciousness of me, to what answers would come through. And I thought that was really fascinating, that kind of having you answer the questions, but it's not really you. Can you kind of explain it a little bit? Because I'm having a hard time just trying to explain what it is.
It's an experience, right? It's
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
you
Mhm.
experience that it's really difficult to speak about.
Yeah.
So right now we are speaking to one another with our conscious mind. So when I
Right.
put clients under, I bring forward the higher self or the subconscious. I use those two terms together because people like to use each term differently. So when I bring that forward, I bring forward the all-knowing part of you, that it's not being blocked by your conscious mind, that it's really allowed the space to speak. I'm giving the voice, giving the person or the part of you that is sometimes kept silent, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing it forward for you to hear what you have to say, that all-knowing part of you. Or sometimes, depending on where we go, because it's not always the higher self, we can be channeling infinite intelligence also. So some people don't always bring the higher self. They bring down information from other places.
Mean like you mean like spirit guides or angels, or is that what you mean by other places or other dimensions or?
Yes, other dimensions, other energetic beings like angels, transmission channelings from ET groups or specific ETs, source energy, like I mentioned earlier. So it's all for the benefit of the client or the information that needs to be heard at that time.
Yeah.
Will come forward.
Yeah. Will come forward for the client. For me, it was my higher self. And it was interesting because when I was answering, I was interchanging I and she. And they both felt accurate. You know what I mean? Like when I was talking about myself, I'm saying it in the I, but I'm also saying it in the she. Like I'm out of body in a way. It was like, I can't explain it, So, but like
because
I said,
you know something else is taking over.
Yes.
So you're like them, but not really me.
Right. Exactly. So, and the answers really flowed. So, we're going to take our second break here because I want to talk more about tapping into the higher self, which I find really fascinating. So guys, stay tuned and I will be back in just a couple minutes with more on hypnosis with Ariana.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back. So we were talking with Ariana about hypnosis and my experience. And connecting to your higher self, where your questions, the questions that you have, will be answered. So it was really interesting, the way that the answers just flowed so effortlessly. Like I didn't have to really think about it like I do, in the state that I would be right now. If you asked me a question, I'd be like, well, I don't know. Let me think. And, back and forth. It just kind of like the answers just kind of flowed. Is that what most people's experience is when they're connected to the higher self?
Yes. And it's about not thinking. That's the point. It's not about thinking. It's about just knowing, intuitively knowing, and using other senses besides, thinking or, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So some people would really benefit from finding some answers about some of the issues that they have going on, because it really comes through very clearly. Can you share with us, some people getting answers for themselves about some issues that they've had their whole life, that they finally got an aha when they talked to their higher self?
Yeah, actually, in my experience, I was terrified of flying, and I don't know where it stems from. So when
I have that too. I have that too. I'm not crazy about flying. I don't think.
So next time we will find out why that is, right?
Okay. Go ahead. So what was your answer? Maybe I'm supposed to hear this.
Yeah, well, maybe. So I had never been afraid of flying as a child or anything like that. It was something that was brought upon in recent years. And it turned out that it was because of 9/11. I live in New York, and I witnessed what was happening. So I didn't think those two things together at all. My higher self said that the trauma from what those people might have been feeling on the aircraft is what triggered the fear of flying. And my mom is a flight attendant, so I was like, yeah, maybe it's just one of those things that, your parent is a psychologist, but the child is not all there. Or so my mom is a flight attendant. I hate flying. So I thought it was just one of those weird instances.
Did it shift for you once you got the answer?
It did. And I wanted to have that session before, because I was going a month before. Actually, the month later, I was going on a trip. So I wanted to let's get it all out, put it all on the table. I need to get rid of this, because I do not want to take this with me on my trip.
Yeah.
So when I was on the flight, I felt at ease, understanding and knowing and breathing. I'm like, oh, okay, I feel calm.
Yeah. No, I love that. So I imagine that would work with certain issues, like for people who, let's say, have an addiction or have a weight issue or something that they can't let go of. Getting an answer from your higher self probably would be very beneficial, so that you can process that, so you can, deal with whatever it is you're dealing with. Correct?
Yeah. Yes. And sometimes when you're dealing with any ailments in the body, to look at it from a metaphysical standpoint. So let's say if you've gained weight, or you have a weight situation, sometimes you might want to look at what am I protecting myself from? Because the weight acts as a barrier, right? So where is that barrier coming from? So you can actually go in yourself without doing a session and kind of self-reflect on things like that from a metaphysical standpoint.
You mean ask your higher self and see what answers are revealed to you? Yeah. So when you're, you said that we're in a theta state when you do the hypnosis. So I did not feel because I told some people, I'm doing it, and I could never be hypnotized, or aren't you scared? I'm like, no. Not scared. Like it's not like I'm going away and you're implanting like ideas in my head. I'm totally aware of everything that's going on in my environment and my connection with you and where I'm at in my, mind's eye or whatever. So it's not like that. Can you like share a little bit about that for those who are like, I don't really understand how hypnosis works,
Yeah, there's this huge stigma about hypnosis, but the type of hypnosis that I do, it's for you to reveal your own answers. There are other hypnosis where you can perhaps shift things in the mind, but the way I do it, I lead you through for you to get your own answers. So when you're you're in a state of more hyper awareness because you know that you're here, but you're there as well. So you go into this hyper awareness like state. And that's what's really empowering about doing it because you are in control, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to wake up, you could, but most people don't want to because it's relaxing or it's intriguing and the experience is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to. Yeah, it was very interesting. I didn't want to wake up. Yeah. So for those of you listening, it's not like, people hear, that people have been implanted false memories, right? We've all heard that before. And it's not like that at all.
No. So the more you, so as you do a session, you can understand what it feels like to be under hypnosis. And with that, you can actually take that experience and apply it to your everyday life. So if you want to meditate or you have difficulties meditating or you want to go in a trance-like state or astral travel, you have the tools or the knowledge on what that would feel like to do it while you're under hypnosis because they're the same feelings.
Right.
Just that the information is coming to you differently.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You can apply the information or the experience to your everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something that, like I said, I had the physical reaction, which I thought was really cool. But at the same time I was having the physical reaction, I was still 100% aware that I was safe at home in my present existence. So it's not like you're out of body and somebody's, manipulating you at all. Like I felt like I had total control.
Yeah. And sometimes things that come up, like you mentioned earlier about the he or she or I or them, all the pronouns that were used, sometimes they are used for you to know, and in the recording, for you to know that it's not just you saying it. So a lot of the times the higher self would either change their voice, change the way they speak about the person so that the person, when they awaken, they know that it's not their conscious mind. So I had a session, I had a client, actually she's on my YouTube channel where her voice always changes into this, it has an accent, but when she speaks normally, she has no accent. And it was because the higher self wants her to know that it is 100% real. And it's not just her making it up. She can't even reproduce the accent in a conscious state.
Yeah, yeah. That's why. That's wild. Well, with me, it was like I was so aware of, I would say I, and then I would say she, but she, and then I'm like, so I was kind of like both. It was going in and out as I and she, and I felt like they both made sense. So that's what made it feel even more real for me, that I wasn't making it up. In my conscious mind, I was actually connecting with the more knowing part of myself, which is what we want, because apparently we have all the answers if we just would open up and listen, right?
Yes.
For ourselves, we have the answers for ourselves, right? They're inside of us.
Well, depending on the person. If the person meditates, if they're very intuitive, like for example, I do collaborations often with Nicole over at Guiding Echoes, and she is a psychic medium. And what I love about
I had
sessions,
Nicole on my show before, so I know Nicole. Yeah, she's cool.
what I love about doing sessions with her is that because she's a psychic medium, she can really tap in to other dimensions, realms, or other people. So we did a collaboration event where we had guests, and I put her under hypnosis, and she was able to dive deep into their questions and really answer about them. Yeah, in a really like trance-like state, and she was going on and on and on and on and on.
Wow,
no break.
That's really interesting. So you guys did this together, like in person as a group, or did you do it online? Or
we did it through Zoom, and we invited a small group because we wanted everyone to have a chance to ask their questions. So we had a small group, and everyone loved it. They kind of left in a daze, like what just happened? This was crazy.
Yeah, that sounds like something. Oh my God, that sounds totally up my alley and wild. I would love to have witnessed that. You just to see, because that's true for people that are psychic and are intuitive and can tap into other people's, energy and get answers is amazing to me. But as far as for yourself, for your own healing or for your own questions, having a session with you really helped me understand some things that I didn't understand before. And you guys listen to me on a regular basis, and I have a lot of people on, and I talk to a lot of people, and I do a lot of work. So it's great when I discover new things about myself that I didn't realize. It's like it helps me grow as a person. And I think that that's what's really powerful about the work that you do.
Well, as you continue to use that experience, what was great about doing a session with you was that you are intuitive. And sometimes why people have a tough time doing the session is the resistance. They are resisting, like letting go and letting whatever message comes and not interfere with doubt or anything like that. So because you're very intuitive naturally, the higher self was able to communicate. And the more you practice that, you're going to start reading people left and right, up and down, predicting the future.
Yeah. I have heard that from other people. So, Ariana, are you still working? I mean, do you work one-on-one? If somebody listening today wants to reach out to you and have a session with you, can they do that? And where would they find you? Where would they find you?
Absolutely. You can find me on therealmofprosperity.com. And because I'm on your show and I'm so happy to be here, I am offering a coupon code called Postcards for your audience. So if you are interested and you do decide to book a session, visit my website and insert the code Postcards for 25%.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Yeah, guys, I highly recommend it. Highly. Like just for a one-off, just to see a past life that may be relevant, just to talk to your higher self. I mean, it's not like, you have to go like to a therapist where it's a weekly thing you need to do. I mean, just go and check it out, because I went in with absolutely no expectations, and it was a wonderful experience for me. And I haven't had a chance to listen to the replay, but I think tonight I am going to listen to it. So I'm going to get even more out of it when I go back and listen to it from this perspective. So I would get a session, and especially if she's giving 25% off. That's amazing. Go to the realmofprosperity.com and connect with her. Well, Ariana, it's been so great having you here with me today, and thank you so much for the session. I just loved it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I hope we covered everything. If not, we'll just have to have you back.
And then we'll just have to have you have another session and see what else comes up, right?
Okay. Sounds good. That sounds good to me. Yeah, it was really fun. And she's so professional, and you'll feel really comfortable. You don't even realize you're on video, truthfully, because you're just laying there with your eyes closed and you completely forget about the whole video thing. It goes away. For those who are self-conscious, don't even worry about it. Right? It's like such a relaxing experience, and it's very, very powerful. So oh God, we're out of time. I just looked at the clock. I got to say goodbye. Okay. Thank you for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.